if I preview this thing, what you're going to see is a sticky header, right? And I would expect, does anyone not know how to do that out the box? Oh, that's probably not, you don't know. Okay, fine. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. I just wanted to, start at the very basics and build up. So out the box, Axure lets you do this really very easily. We've got a header at the top. It's a dynamic panel. If I zoom out, the dynamic panel goes all the way across. Yeah, it's completely liquid. And that's pretty straightforward. It's right here, 100% wide. The dynamic panel itself, I think we kind of talked about this, or Sandra talked about this. Dynamic panel itself just has a background color. It doesn't really have anything else in it. It has some elements, the logos and stuff like that. But the background color itself is just applied to the dynamic panel. The dynamic panel has its own background color. There's no box in there with gray. The dynamic panel itself is gray. Incidentally, the most useful quick key in Axure is on an Apple. What is it? Command, what is it? Command to jump back? No. I don't even know it on an Apple. I think it's Control Tab. That's it. So Control Tab is like going back in a browser. Control Tab is like going back in a browser. In Axure, you end up going into so many windows and going backwards and forwards. Control Tab and Control Shift Tab, forward and back, is the most useful quick key, bar none. Okay. I'll be doing that a little bit. So there you've got that thing. It's 100% wide and it's pinned. So pin to browser is right there. It's pinned to the top, center, top. And because this object sits at the top of the window, what we have is, where is it? Here we go. There's a sticky header, okay? It's just stuck to the window. It's very, very standard stuff. Anything else to say about that? No, not really. I'm going to distribute this file for those who want to delve into it a bit more. So Sandra, you'll see. So if I go on to the next version of the sticky header, what we have here is a sticky header which has got a banner above it, and as you scroll up, it's stuck to the page. And then when you hit the top of the page, I made it change because some people do that, deliberately. But the point is, it sticks when it hits the top. There's lots of examples of how to do this out there. We start to get into the sort of funkier dynamic panel stuff. What's going on there is you've actually got two dynamic panels. One dynamic panel which is just sitting on the page, which hides when it hits the top of the page, okay? And the other one, which is pinned, like the last one, becomes visible and it's pinned to the top. So it's a sort of magician's trick. You change from one to the other. I'm going to show you how to do that just very quickly. There's this one, it's hidden. This is the one at the back. Actually, I'm going to go to this example. Where is it? There you go. You've got your two banners there. The one that's not pinned and the one that is going to be pinned. So this one's going to pin at the top of the page, pin to browser, horizontal center, top, okay. And if I just preview that, what's going to happen? I'm going to have two of them. One of them's pinned halfway down the page, and the other one moves with the page. So this one needs to be at the top. Incidentally, let me just jump back to pin to browser. I can't change the margin here. Because I've got this thing halfway down the page, it's giving me a 200 pixel margin. Yeah, that's why it's stuck halfway down the page. I'll stick that at the top, at 0, 0. Pin to browser again, the margin's 0. So now it's pinned to the top. And if I preview it, we now have it one pin to the top and one moving. And then we have to get into a little bit of scripting here. In the bottom panel here, we've got page interactions. So we've already talked about this. One of the slides I showed, which was this sort of principle of scripting. You have a trigger and you have instructions. You know, the trigger is these things on page load. What is it that actually makes this happen? In this case, it's window scrolling. So on window scroll, I'm going to add a condition. If you haven't seen this stuff before, I'm going to try and explain it as I go along. I think most of you have probably seen this, but we are sort of almost immediately getting into some of the funkier stuff. In order to address the more the values that the system is generating, we have to just use value. I'm not going to go into all of this stuff. Value gives us the access under the FX here into this funky window, which again we're going to meet in more detail as we go along. It's not crazy. Down here, it's got a bunch of functions which you can just lift into your scripting, and the one that we're interested in is window scroll Y. Okay, so window scroll Y is just the Y, the distance that the window is scrolling. So the value, so we've got a condition here. It's the condition that says if the window scroll Y is greater than value, what value? Is greater than, no, it's higher than that. I can't remember what it is. I'm gonna guess at 250 or something like that. If it's greater than 250, now I'll explain this again in a second. If it's greater than 250, then what we're going to do is show the pinned header and hide the fixed header. Hide. So if it's greater than 250, show the pinned header, hide the fixed header. In fact, if it's greater than 100, Stuart, you were bang on, weren't you? 100. Yeah, you do. Okay. Let me rewind. Can I hit return? Is that going to work? Yeah. So let me just rewind that again. Actually, you can see it down here. We've created a case in the window scroll which says if the window scroll Y is greater than 100, in other words, if this thing scrolls past 100, can you see that? The moment it hits 100 on the left-hand side there, yeah, it makes this visible and this invisible. Okay, and as a default, I'm going to have to hide that, which is in here. It's hidden. So now it's hidden. We've got these two things, and we've got show hide, and if we preview that, up it goes. That one hides, that one shows. When it comes back down again, it doesn't come back again. So we have to have the flip side as well. The flip side being, I'm going to copy this. Sorry, I'm looking at this case. I'm going to copy this case, paste straight on top again. Oh, what am I doing? Click there, copy, paste. It's got an else statement. I'm going to clear that condition and reverse these round. Hide, show. As I say, if you're not following this directly, you can pick up this file and go through it. So in the preview now we've got it changes and it comes back again. Okay. Now I hate this. I hate doing it like this because actually it takes so many clicks and it's really fiddly. It's got there's loads of different. You've got two different dynamic panels floating around. It's very, very clunky. So we're going to go to the next, hopefully, Zen level where it gets a bit easier for a while. But you know, as a solution, you know, it works, and you can see how you can start to build up quite interesting interactions just with that technique of showing and hiding dynamic panels, pinning them, not pinning them. You know, that way you can start to do some quite interesting. Sorry, you can't see me, can you? You can start to do some quite interesting things like that. But from the point of view of putting a prototype together quickly, and you know, it's quite a lot to remember, really. So the next one is this one, which is let's have a look at it. I've changed it about a bit. You know, the header no longer sticks, but this one sticks now instead. Okay. It does, you know, we could have done it in the same way that we did the last one. We could have two different dynamic panels. They don't, you know, they're going to be exactly the same as each other, so that's immediate duplication. You'd have to hide one and show the pinned one and all that kind of stuff. You could do that. But actually, I think this solution that I'm about to show you is a lot simpler. We got the same case if the window scroll Y is greater than 450, so where's 450? 450 is sitting on top of this bar, okay? And all I'm doing is introducing a new, a slightly different way of working, which is moving the bar itself. Instead of changing from one dynamic panel to another, I'm just moving it. I'm moving it, so which is what's happening. It's stuck to the page, it's moving up and down the page, and then it starts to move on the page, right? Now, understanding exactly how this works is maybe the slightly tricky one, but actually, when you look at the coding there, move CTA bar. Okay, we've got move, there's the CTA bar there. CTA bar is a call to action bar that's underneath the banner. Okay, and I'm moving it to, not by, to 0, because it's stuck to the side of the page. And on here, the window scroll Y. Okay. In terms of doing that, all you do is you've got a dynamic panel, you write 2 lines of text and the whole thing's done. No messing around with lots of different dynamic panels and turning them on and off and all that kind of stuff. The object that you're moving stays on the page and then moves on the page and goes back again. It's very simple. It takes seconds, whereas the other one takes minutes. And the funky thing about this is this bit, which is that you're actually moving the dynamic panel down the page. The page is moving up, the dynamic panel's moving down the page. At the same speed that the page is scrolling, you're moving the coordinates of that dynamic panel down the page, right? I've got a little diagram which actually might help. If we can see that. Do that on screen. What happens then? Oh, there we go. Okay, so here's the little diagram. Okay, the dark line is the screen. The grey line behind is the page. The page, as you scroll down the page essentially moves up behind the screen. There's the scroll Y. Okay, if that was 100, you know, you'd scroll the page down 100 pixels. So scroll Y equals 100. And then what you're doing, you see the grey thing here, the grey bar here is the pinned bar is moving down the page by the same value, so it stays still. Yeah, it's balanced. Again, I don't think it's really absolutely vital you understand it from a sort of existential point of view. You know, use it because it's really simple. Actually, it's really simple. It's a lot easier to do it that way. So there it is. It's beautifully smooth. It works exactly as the other one did, but with, you know, a fraction of the effort. And you know, in a sense, this whole progression through these exercises is based on just moving. And I think, you know, moving using the move command is incredibly powerful once you get your head around the coordinates of the screen and actually how you stack up the different equations and stuff. So, any questions about that? Does anybody want me to sort of explain it again? Because I'm quite happy to do so. I understand it's just a little bit out there. No? All right? Everyone happy? Brilliant. Okay, well, yeah, sure.
So the move is relative to the page, not the window?
The coordinates are relative to the page. Yes. Yes, exactly.
It makes other types of prototypes more difficult.
I think that's when you're on the top layer, right? When you're inside a dynamic panel.
Oh,
It's
right.
the top left point of the dynamic panel.
Yeah, in that's correct. In the dynamic panel, they act as their own little world, their own little coordinate system. But outside that on the page, yeah, it's all based on the actual page, not the window. Because if it's based on the window, everything would be stuck still, wouldn't they? So yeah. Any other questions at all? No?
Does this work on mobile?
Yeah, absolutely the same. I mean, you know, everything that we do will work on a mobile. You'll just be working in a different space, a different shape. Yeah, everything that I'm showing you is completely transferable. So, okay, let's do the next one. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to preview this, and then we'll see what it looks like. Yeah, it's all right. Okay. What's special about this? Oh yeah, I remember. I think. Okay, slightly changed now. I'm using the same thing, but I want to show you something. It's the same technique, but there's something interesting about this, which is, if I can actually work this computer, when the window starts to get smaller, we end up with some problems. Okay, in this case, actually, if I go back to the last one, can I go back to the last one? Yeah. The last one doesn't handle that very well. It handles this fine, but if the window's really small, this really important call to action bar is off the screen, right? So, you know, we have to handle those kind of conditions, and so this one handles the condition quite nicely. When the window's really small, the call to action bar is stuck at the bottom. And then when you scroll down or scroll up, it catches the bottom of the banner and then sticks to the top. Again, really, really simple. This is a real life solution to a real life problem, which I had to deal with in anger. With, you know, you come up with these ideas, they seem great, but you just don't test the obvious thing. The developer comes back and says, well, what do I do when the window's too small? You know, and you know, it does exactly as you would imagine it to do. But to explain, okay, if the window's too small, I want you to stick it to the bottom. And then when it scrolls past, I want you to stick it to the banner. And then when it goes to the top, I want you to stick it to the top of the window. It's actually kind of easier to build a prototype. And again, I built the prototype, showed it to him. He was like, oh yeah, obviously, and did it and built it. So it kind of worked. It's not the most Zen thing at all, except that it just is it's a logical progression from where we've been. So here it is. I should have done that so far, should I? I mean, obviously we've got two triggers going on here, right? We've got the on window resize and on scroll. Because if you resize the window, you need it to behave. You need it to trigger when you resize the window. And when you scroll, you need it to behave. In fact, most of it is exactly the same. It does the same in both cases. So we're going to ignore the window resize. And also, if you look at this, forget that bit because that's not important. In fact, I could even delete that because that's not being used. Okay, so in fact, most of this is what we've done already. Right? We've got this bottom bit is exactly what we've done already. We've just stuck it to the bottom and the top. Sorry, when the window scrolls greater than 450, you move the bar, you stick it to the bar, and then when the window is less than 450, you put it back where it was. Did I explain that before well enough? Yeah. The return case here is you're just sticking it back exactly where it was. So the 450 is the position on the page. So those two bits you already understand. This bit, well, when the window height is less than 550, which we've already talked about, right, the window height, and the window's smaller, so the condition there, the only thing that I'm wondering whether I want to go into it in detail is this bit here, the window scroll plus the window height minus the height of the actual bar is less than 450. Yeah, I can feel it getting a little bit funky. Do I need to explain it in detail? I suppose when I did that, I played around with it quite a lot to find what worked, and that's what you have to do. Once you understand the principles of the coordinate system on the page and how you can manipulate, how you can actually manipulate to your advantage and make these things happen, you can then start to discover how to fix this stuff.
If I may, David, on that point.
Yeah.
What you deleted there, so I'd say that it's actually quite important because you set up a variable, right, to capture the window scroll.
Yeah.
And it's quite useful because you can then check that value.
Yeah.
When something doesn't happen like you think it should, you can then check that value to see, actually, well, where are we on the window scroll and why hasn't my condition worked out?
That's a really excellent point. Thanks, Stuart. Let me just follow that up. Okay, what Stuart's saying, what I've got down here is a condition for debugging, and all I'm doing is setting a value into a variable. Let's just see how that works. When you open up out the box Axure, you have one variable which is called the onload variable, and it's not important what it's called. It's literally irrelevant. It could be X. So X set to window scroll Y. Yeah, hit return. So that's that. Oh, I just deleted it again. What's happened there? Okay, it's disappearing. Oh, I know, it's closed. Huh. Right. So I'm all over this, you can tell, can't you? Yes, okay, so preview that. And the point that Stuart is making very well is that this button up here shows you your variables in real time. There you go. Is that the same one? That is the same one. I'm not really sure. I don't think it's the same one, is it? It's this one. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. You can see the numbers. So you start with 0. When you start to scroll, you get... It's got something strange going on there. Let me have a quick look at that. All right. If I preview that, is it? Yeah, okay. Right, preview that again. Turn on the variables. I have no idea why. Why is it doing that?
That's right. It's showing you.
Oh, because of the resolution change. It's giving you it's not a
whole number, right?
It's not a whole number.
Yeah, that's the question. Why is it a whole number?
Anyway. So okay, so that got kind of a tiny bit hairy. Let's go back to something that's really simple, okay? And you're gonna like this, I think, because it's using exactly the same principles. We've got parallax going on, okay? I've kept the sticky bar just to make it more complicated, but actually it's a one-line solution, and the solution is really straightforward. Where are we? Just going back to that. Okay, and I'll take this from the top. So we'll start it with the stuff that you know already. This stuff is the sticky bar, which we don't really need, so I'm going to delete all this. Take it from the top. If I preview what you've got is just a standard page. Okay, everything's stuck to the page and it's scrolling up and down like so. So in order to make that thing move differently, we need to, script it, talk to it. And what I'm going to do is exactly the same thing we've done before. In fact, I'm not going to bother with the condition because I don't think we need one. So I'm just going to go move the banner to 0x side of the window, and then script the vertical. So we're back into this scripting window. Insert a variable or function, which is our window scroll Y again. Okay. So that's got the window scroll Y in there. You can see it there. Banner to 0, window scroll Y. Exactly what we've done before. Exactly. And then preview that and see what happens. What's going to happen now is the banner's stuck to the top and everything else is moving. There's a little white panel there to blank it out, but so that's just again exactly what we've done before. I think this is probably going to be, I hope, one of the most sort of fulfilling bits of maths that you've done for a long time, because it's really, really straightforward. If we're talking about a distance, pixel distance, if we multiply it by a fraction, like times half, right, the distance it's going to move is half, right? It's going to move half. It's actually that simple. So 0.5, we're timesing that movement on the page. Instead of being stuck to the page because it's moving the same way as the window, it's going to move at half the speed, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Preview. And we got parallax. She's moving at half the speed and everything else is going at the same speed. Everything else is going at the speed of the window, but she's only going half. And it's actually, the parallax is actually, that's straightforward. It gets funkier if that thing is not at the top of the screen. It's very, very simple. If that banner is at the top of the screen, because the movement of the page is exactly the same as the movement you want down the page. If you remember that diagram I showed you, you're scrolling the page up and you're moving the object down by the same distance. And that's what keeps it stuck to the window. And then if you start to change, if you multiply that scroll by a half, okay, it starts to move slower. In fact, if you want to move it twice as fast, you multiply it by 2. Do you want to have a quick look at that? Multiply by 2. So she's going down the page, twice the speed the page is going up. Or maybe the same speed as going up, but because the relative, actually going down the page the same speed that the page is going up, but because it's relative to the page, and yeah.
Can I ask a UX question?
Yeah, sure.
What's the problem that parallax solves? Is there one?
Boredom. User boredom. No. It's you spend you spend a lot of time on the screen. There's a quality of I forget the name for it, but ease of use is one thing that you can actually get your job done, but actually enjoying it and being drawn into it and being and having that sort of the joyful nature of it, I think is really important. And parallax starts to create, yes, it's a slight novelty. There is a novelty to it, but you could argue that it creates depth on the page, and you get this feeling that the things that in the foreground that are moving are the things that are important. The things in the background are sort of not so important, but yet there's so many different ways of using parallax. I've seen you know, as you scroll down the page, things appear from the bottom and then drop onto the page. It's micro interactions again, isn't it? It's that thing of, you know, using movement to draw your eye to the thing that you want. In the, yeah, it's fun and useful, I think. Okay, so there's one last thing, and how are we doing for time? Am I pushing it? Am I? Oh, well, that's good because I'm running out of road. Okay, one last thing, and I think this might even answer your question because I think this is actually eminently practical and parallax. If I do this, I'm just going to show it to you, and I'm not going to show you the scripting. Wow. You want to see the scripting? Seriously? Okay. Okay, it's the same thing. Actually, hold on a second. Let me just go back before I'm jumping the gun a little bit. There's actually sidebars. You know, a sidebar's going away. I don't know, but I don't think they are because screens are getting wider. So sidebars are stuck with us. Here's the traditional sidebar. The problem with the sidebar is that immediately you never have enough stuff to put in it, so it stops, and then you've got these horrible pages where you scroll down and it's just empty. It's empty text. I think it's ugly. You know, you've got a big wide screen, very narrow column of text going down. So, and I saw this on a website and I thought that is so obvious and simple that if you move the sidebar at different speed to the text, yeah, you can keep them next to each other. So that's what this next one's about. The sidebar kind of scrolls slowly and the text scrolls quickly and you never run out of sidebar. Well, I think that's really practical. I mean, there's all kinds of applications for something like that. And, you know, you can imagine, I saw the Google Help has got side menus and stuff on that side. Text on the left side, menus on the right, you know, scrolling the menus with the text. I think it's really practical. Unfortunately, it got a bit messy. I got a bit complicated with it. So the actual programming itself is similar to what you've been used to.
So whatever the height of the page, you're going to reach the bottom of the sidebar as you get to the bottom of the page, whether it's 10,000 pixels or...
Yeah. Yeah, that's the idea. Okay, let's have a look at the diagram first, because I did do a diagram. I had to, and in fact, I kind of solved this in my head with the diagram. It wasn't easy. In the end, what we've got to do, there's the sidebar there. We've got to scroll the sidebar at a relevant fraction of the speed of the main page, right? And the relevant fraction is the key bit. So, in fact, the relevant fraction is this. The page is scrolling. This bit is fixed. The content's fixed. It's scrolling up the page at a fixed rate, fixed on the page. And this bit, we want this bottom to hit there when this bottom hits there. So the fraction actually is that divided by that, right? When we did times a half is sort of, you know, simple. It's like 1 over 2. In this case, we've got this is the 1 over the 2. In fact, you know, this is 1 over 5 or something. So it's a bit like multiplying it by a fraction of 0.2 or something like that. In a sense, it's as simple as that. I ended up massively overcomplicating the way I did it because I wanted it to be really accurate. But is there anything else I can say about that? Is that absolutely baffling or kind of okay? Yeah? No? Yeah? Okay, cool. So the coding is here. It's absolutely the same principle as everything that I've shown you. It is the window scroll Y is greater than 470. So, you know, when you go past this line here, which is 470 down, there's 470 on the left there. Is it 470? I don't know why it's 470. Anyway, it should be 470. Yeah, I think it is. That's 470 there. When you go past that point, you start to move the sidebar. And you're moving the sidebar down the page slowly while the other stuff is coming up fast. It's exactly the same concept. It's just that the equation is a little bit funky. Well, if you look at this bit, you know, what we've got, if you remember the diagram, you've got the window and then you've got the bits that are sticking out of the bottom. So it's, you know, the window height, the sidebar height minus the window height. That gives you the remainder of the bit on the bottom, yeah? Window height minus, the sidebar height minus window height divided by the main height, the main content, minus the window height. Right? In fact, you know, there's a lot of words there, but it's not that complicated, you know? If I go back to the diagram for a second, I'll just flip back to the diagram. And you know, as I say, Sandra will distribute this file and you can play with it, okay? And in a sense, it's not about the solution. It's about understanding that, you know, you can solve these problems with coordinates and you can play around with them. So you can use it out of the box, or you can, you know, look at this as a solution for solving on-page problems. Here's the diagram again. The window height, so we've got the sidebar height minus the window height. The main height minus the window height. Sandra, do you want me to wrap up? Because I feel like I'm rambling almost. I could be, yes? Wrap up, okay. Wrap up, how do I wrap up?
We had a lot of technical difficulties there.
Well, I think I'm just going to wrap up by going back to this and going that. It's hopefully that's been kind of useful for every level. You know, from beginner's point of view, you've seen the pinning process and the way you can turn things on and off. It's not really that complicated. There's a couple of new ideas have been introduced there, and for a more advanced mind, you know, a user, hopefully, you know, the possibility of starting to do some quite interesting interactivities, like the one that, like this one, that sticks to the top and the bottom, you know, has been helpful. Thank you for your attention.